Hello YouTube, we are back with another video, and today we're going to be talking about your schematic. Now, what exactly does that mean? Well, I got this from an article, so let's pull it right up. I'll link this in the description if you'd like to read it for yourself. So, your schematic is something you build as you play more games, and every time it grows, your ability to make correct tactical decisions increases. Now, this is an Overwatch-based example in the article, but I think this applies to every game. Any game where you need to make decisions, this schematic idea applies, right? You want to make correct tactical decisions in FPS games, in shooters, in MOBAs, everything requires you to make very good decisions on the spot when very particular situations arise. So the next paragraph, they talk about an example with Mei and Reaper, but it says, imagine an enormous imagine an enormous grid filled with dots, and every dot represents a unique situation. Now, this can be anything. The example again, Mei versus Reaper in Overwatch, but it could be you're cornered against Ibuki in Street Fighter, or everyone's MIA, you're playing League, no one's on the map, how do you deal with this? Or, you know, Cloud is not letting you land, how do you land against Cloud? These are all unique situations that can be managed in different ways. You can choose a poor decision that'll just get you super punished, it might lose you the entire game, or you can choose a good decision that maybe you get to reset to neutral, maybe you get to do damage, who knows? Anyway, let's continue with the article. Situations that represent an opportunity for schematic development are everywhere. And yeah, so essentially what this means is that, let's just look at the graph itself. There is a low tier player on the left, filled with red dots. This essentially means there are so many situations where they're not actually sure what the correct answer is to individual situations. On the right, a high tier player, many more. They're still bad ones, obviously, right? Even the best players make mistakes. They don't know how to deal with everything. But overall, throughout the course of a longer game, they will make more good decisions than a lower tier player. So the article mentions once you come to these realizations, the dots will light up and you've added to your schematic. Not all of these solutions will be obvious, and sometimes you have to try out things that won't work or ask other players for input. This is something we've talked about many times. We talked about the Armada video where he talks about this as well. You should try out different tactics and friendlies just to see what works. Even if it doesn't work, it's better that you now know it's a bad option. In my opinion, this schematic should have green dots, that means you have a good answer, red dots just means you have a bad answer, and just no dot as in it's not lit up at all, which means you're not even sure, you have not even realized that there is good answers. This just seems like a normal situation to you, where in fact it should be something you're actually taking advantage of, if that makes sense. Anyway, let's talk about the later half of the schematic. A poor or average player will slowly build up their schematic over time, and so will the rest of poor or average players, meaning you will likely plateau or barely progress up the ladder. The mark of great players is their ability to learn from every situation they come across. If you watch competitive streamers, you may notice when they die or make a mistake, they'll say something like, I should have done X, I knew they had X, I should have done Y. They are not trying to make excuses. They're lighting up that dot to add to their schematic should that situation arise again. You might see this in any game again. In Overwatch, you'll see someone saying, oh, I knew he had ult, why did I fight? In Smash, they might say, oh, I should have not went off stage, that was too risky. Things like this. Now, the important thing here is that it sounds like schematic building is almost a natural talent. And actually, I think that for some people, it might be. I feel like a lot of people can just play a game, not a lot of people, some people can just play a game and they will realize really quickly that they made a bad decision. Maybe that is just a clearer head. Maybe people on the opposite end are kind of more salty. Who knows? They're not even worried about if it was a good or bad decision. They're thinking about something else entirely. But the important part here is that I think anyone can speed up their schematic growth. As it says here, you can also speed up your schematic growth by looking at other players. A powerful way to quickly develop your schematic is by watching a high-level streamer or YouTuber play a competitive match and imagine that you are playing in that game. Try to predict what they would do next. This can range from positioning, targeting ability. Again, this is Overwatch based. If you consider doing something different than they did, use that opportunity to learn and add to your own schematic. They don't always make the right choices, but a top tier player, you can assume it's right or at least good the majority of the time. Now, I think there are way more ways to add to your schematic. In Street Fighter, for example, you can quite literally use a training dummy in that training mode to figure out every solution to a situation. You can just make the computer do an option to you, and you can sit there and find out literally every option, which one's the best, which one's the worst, and what their counterplay is back, right? There's so much you can do in a good training mode. In a game like Smash, you can watch better players, of course. You can play with your friend and try new things in friendlies and just literally limit test what happens if I do this, what happens if I do this, and try to learn that way. You can watch your own replays, really go slowly through them and say, what was a better option here? Why did I get hit here? And you slowly build up your schematic this way. I don't think schematic building is something that most players just do off the top of their head. Some might, but I don't think that's the norm. I think for everyone, there's an optimal way to learn. We've talked about this in another video. Even when you go to school, your teachers tell you, oh, some people are better at visual learning, some people are better at audible learning, whatever. When it comes to improving at a game, like a fighting game, for example, since that's usually what we talk about on this channel, I think some people are better at just playing the game and they have a clear head and realize their mistakes. Some people really need an outside perspective. They need someone else to watch their replays. Some people need to watch their own replays, but they're too lazy to do so. They can learn so much from them. There's so many different ways to learn, but you need to figure out your ideal schematic learning environment. Now, I said earlier that for some people, the light might not be on at all. Here's an example of me playing Street Fighter. I have this Necalli cornered and he neutral jumps. This was something that people did against me for literal years. In like Street Fighter 4 and early Street Fighter 5, I would corner them, they neutral jumped. I never even considered punishing it, but you can. And only when I watched like super high level players punish it, I realized, oh, I wonder if people get away with that against me. So I start watching my own replay, as you can see here. And I noticed that they did neutral jump and I didn't even I just whiffed my punish completely because I'm just not sure how to deal with the situation. My schematic went from not on at all to just bad. I had a bad answer. I'm not good enough at it. As the game goes on, a similar situation occurs, but I'm actively trying to fix this and I get the punish. Beautiful. So I went from not having light on at all to seeing other players do it, and now I started to try to fix it myself. It started off red, it ended up green. Perfect, my schematic added up. This might seem like a very minor thing to you. I'm just getting a little more damage for punishing this neutral jump. I'm gaining more momentum though. But these things really add up. Imagine a higher level player than you does this 10 more times a game. That is so much extra damage, so much extra percent, so much extra time alive in a game like League or Overwatch. These little things add up so much in a long-term game. Look at this example here with Sheik. I neutral air her shield or fair her shield very low and she fairs me. All right, she didn't punish it, but why did I let her get away with it? Did you know that I could punish her fair now? A rising fair from Sheik, she has to hit the ground. So many players would just let that fair occur and that's it. You just let her get away with nothing. But just being slightly better and realizing that there's a situation that you can take advantage of, you now get free percent. Or what about when someone jumps out of shield? This is something we talked about with MKLeo. Sheik jumps out of shield when I pressure it, lands at me with a nair. Now she has pressure because that nair is not punishable. But if we know that this situation occurs against a certain player who jumps out of shield a lot, we can just go up there and punish them. As soon as we hit their shield, we try to react. Did they leave the ground? Yes, they did. Go up there and punish them. Why let them get away with that jump? This is such a minor interaction. But if you are so good at so many of these minor interactions, it is so hard to play against as the opponent because it feels like they are always just one step ahead of you and just getting 20 to 30 more damage for almost no reason. What about this? You're trying to ledge trap someone, maybe you're sitting at the roll position and it jumped. All right, cool. I'm gonna wait for them to touch the ground. Why? Why not punish them? They jump. They're in a corner and in the air, and maybe they exhausted their double jump. There should be no reason this player is allowed to play the game. You should go up there and hit them. And this isn't something I'm making up. Look at MKLeo. Tamsora uses his double jump out of the corner, and I promise you, if I've seen this exact same situations in many lower level games, the Peach just ends up landing for like almost for free. Maybe gets punished on the way down, I'm not sure. But look at Leo, instantly goes up, hits the Peach, does not let her breathe. It's crazy how much more he gets out of these situations that other people probably don't even realize they're dealing with. So many people get off the ledge for free against lower tiered players. So many people hit your shield for free or use moves that they're not exactly unsafe, but it's your turn and you need to take that turn. Anyway, I hope you get where I'm going with this. The key to schematic building IMO is that you really need to figure out which situations you could just be squeezing a little more out of. Even if it's like some of them are obvious, right? You need to hard punish this on your shield. You need to hard punish that. But there are so many minor situations that you can just be getting more out of. And if you figure out enough of them, you'll imagine just starting every game of Smash, your opponent's at 60%. You would win so many more games. Now, obviously this isn't the same thing, but if you just do 60% more per game because you figured out an ideal situation, you will just win more games. I think that's, you know, pretty easy to understand. Anyway, I've been rambling a little too much. I hope you guys learned something. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, I would highly appreciate a like and a subscribe and all that good stuff. Maybe follow me on Twitch and Twitter. You know the deal. Stay beautiful, my friends. I'll see you next time.